Hey, y'all, it's Juanita Coley, the founder of Solid Rock Consulting, where we help call centers implement technology, optimize the technology that they currently have in place, and build better workforce management teams. I want to welcome you to Call Center Chronicles. Call Center Chronicles is a place for CEOs, call center professionals, tech leaders, and yes, the customer, looking to have fun yet thought-provoking conversations around how we improve customer experiences and companies' bottom line. We are on a mission to normalize women in tech and workforce management leadership roles, and we believe that that starts with conversation. Welcome to Call Center Chronicles. Welcome to another episode of Call Center Chronicles. Listen, I am super jazzed about this particular episode because I have none other than press one for Nick if you don't know the brand, okay? We have Nick coming on. But listen, before we hop into his amazing thoughts around customer experience, employee experience, and how he got into the industry, we're just gonna hop right into the show. You guys may or may not remember, we were in an episode, I don't remember which one it was, so I gotta go find it just so I can be like, see, I told you I did say this, right? But I was talking about this in one episode where I was saying, as the technology increases, as we get more and more AI capabilities, machine learning, natural language processing, all of these different things that's supposed to be helping us to do our jobs better and reduce stress and give us quality of life and all of that good stuff, I said that the workforce manager's role will become more and more important, right? I predicted that. And I don't know if anybody else has noticed this or not, or if it's just been me, okay? But I've noticed that there have been a lot more postings on LinkedIn, even on Indeed as well, for workforce managers in contact centers. I wish I would have had my crystal ball at that time, right? But I've been predicting that. I've been saying that. And I think that's going to be a trend that we continue to see. I want to see you sound off on the chat. Let me know where you're listening from. And let me know if you think that that's going to be something that continues to trend. What other roles do you think will become more and more important as the technology that we have at our disposal increases? What do you think? What will those roles now shift to? Because as we're talking about great resignation and as we're talking about the technology becoming pushing more to the forefront, I don't think that does away with roles. I think that does away with low repeatable task, right? I think that does away with things that are redundant and it doesn't take any work. But I think what it actually does, as we have more technology at our disposal, I think what it actually does is it creates jobs that are that take more think work, that are more complex. I think that that's what's going to happen, which is why I was predicting that as we get more and more technology in the contact center space and we start to do things around cross-channel, omni-channel, we can move an interaction from phone to chat to email to social. As you're able to move from those channels, the workforce manager's role becomes that much more complex. Why, Juanita? Why am I saying that? Well, think about it. And all my workforce management people are going to sound off here, right? Because usually when we're forecasting in the workforce world, we're forecasting by channel, right? We're saying, and by channel, I mean phone, email, chat, whatever that channel is, because they all have different ways in which you are calculating the workload, right? So for phone, I may be saying, okay, you can only take one phone call at a time, as opposed to chats, you can take multiple chats at a time. Okay, so the workload that's required for phone would be different than how I'm going to forecast for my workload for chat. Well, when I'm forecasting in a workforce management role, if I'm forecasting by channel, that's one thing. As I have technology that allows an interaction to move seamlessly from phone to chat, like, for example, I was just working on a flight change that I just had to make. I was working on text, right? I was communicating via text with the airline, but then that needed to move to a phone call. Well, then how are workforce managers now forecasting Well, how many are going to be chat versus chat that are incrementally now moving to phone calls? Do the same people handle those interactions? And so your workforce role becomes even more important and critical, that you have a person in that role that really understands workforce management, understands contact center. And so that's why that was my prediction. And I think that that's going to continue to trend as we see more and more technology, advancements around AI and different things like that. So that's my soapbox on that. Okay, cool. Y'all got it? All right, sound off in the chat. Let me know. I want to hear your thoughts on what it is that you're thinking about that. All right. So, and what other roles you think will continue to surface to the top, right? As technology is more available. Now, I get my news from LinkedIn. I know, odd, okay? But that's where I get my news from. Okay, so I'm looking through my LinkedIn news feed, and I saw a topic that was very appropriate actually for this show. And as we continue to talk about future of work in CX and EX, one of the topics, so shout out to LinkedIn News for this today's news topic, right? The topic was what's more important, title or pay? And on that note, I am bringing in press one for Nick. Nick, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. You could be anywhere and you decided to come hang out with me today. So thank you so much for being on the show.
You bet. Anytime you call me, I'm here to hang out. Let's do this.
Yeah, you're my brother from another mother. So tell me, what do you think about this topic before I go off on my soapbox about what's more important, title or pay?
So I think the answer is yes. So I'm gonna throw that politician answer out. I think pay. You need to pay your people accordingly. You don't just want to say, "Hey, Juanita, you know what? You're a director today. I'm going to push you out to a senior director. In another 6 months, I'm going to give you to a VP or a regional VP." The more work that you get, you should be rewarded in addition. It should run parallel. It should not just be, and I think it's good to say, "Oh, you're a senior director now, but I'm gonna bump you because I value you, and I know that I'm gonna provide. It's gonna be harder work, and I know that it's gonna be more responsibility, and you're gonna create more impact to the business." And so I'm gonna cheat and say the answer is yes, because it makes you feel good that you have that title. But it's also that responsibility because they trust you in that role that they've promoted you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What do you think, Juanita?
Listen, so I got tea. Nick. All right. Okay. You see my tea? Okay. Listen. So listen, first before I weigh in, I want to read some of the comments that I saw on this topic, right? So the title was, what's more important, title or pay? And when I thought about this title, I thought about this, well, I didn't think about the title, but when I read this headline, I thought about it from a CX and EX perspective, customer experience as well as employee experience, because I'm known for always saying employees are never going to treat the customer better than they're being treated. And when I think about that, I'm always thinking about CX from a career pathing perspective and employee engagement perspective. I'm always thinking about it from that perspective. So the first little excerpt from this article was saying this is a common conundrum faced by people early in their careers where, should I take a new job that pays better than their current gig but has a more junior title, or, should they take a junior title or take less pay and for a title that may be more, they may be able to strategically leverage better at some point in time. And so some of the responses to this was interesting to me. Somebody said, I know that job titles are subjective. If you're in front of a good manager, then a simple conversation will get to the bottom line of the future potential, which she's basically saying, take the pay, because the title, when you're getting ready to hire or move to another company, you can explain, hey, this is what I was doing. And they'll be able to say, oh yeah, you had a skill set of a director, or you had a skill set of whatever. So she's saying, take the pay. Someone else said many organizations use different titles for similar roles. What does it say? I have a friend who went from HR manager role at a company who will remain unnamed, but then they didn't get the pay increase. So they were HR manager, but they didn't get a pay increase. However, because of the company that they were working at, huge major company, because of the company that they were working at, they leveraged that to get a director role at another organization. So he's saying title. So it goes, the comments go on and on and on, and it's quite a few. And it looks like a lot of people are saying go for title. That is interesting to me because they're saying leverage that strategically for more pay, which means that bottom line, they're saying they want to get better pay. So when we think about that in CX and EX, right, or from just an EX perspective, people are willing to take a title over pay initially earlier in their careers, right? Strategic, so they could be strategically placed so that they can take pay later. So if we think about that, and this is just, again, this article and a couple comments that I read, right? So this is by no means the end all be all on this topic, but I wonder how that then impacts a CX strategy. Do we say, and I've been saying this forever around career pathing, around, hey, we need to make sure that as the technology increases and these roles become more complex, we need to start thinking about career pathing for our employees. Hey, you come in, you start here today, and this is how you can career path into something else, because the call center should not be where our careers go to die. And that is the stigma that's out there right now around call center jobs. Oh, call centers are, low in jobs, or they're where your career goes to die, so forth and so on. What do you think about people taking title over pay to get their career started, but companies having a career strategy and plan to say, hey, you start here and this is where you end up? Is that a good strategy for EX?
I would say that actions speak louder than words. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you are in customer service and you're the tier one guy that starts out and you're hustling. You're doing the phone calls and email and chat and social, and you're trying to get your stuff done. But if they don't know who you are and what your goals are and what you value and where you want to go next, they're just going to try to make you a better customer service rep. They're not necessarily going to make and say, oh, I want to get better in marketing, or I eventually want to get into operations, or I want to try this customer experience stuff. That sounds pretty fun. But if they don't know who you are and where you want to go, they're just going to make you a better version of who they think you are. And so I would kind of not necessarily put them in that bucket. I wouldn't put them in that pillar and say, I'm going to give you a better title, because that's not maybe what they want. Maybe they want to stick in customer service and they really value that, but listen to them, hear them out, understand where they want to go, and then help them get there.
That's good. That's good, Nick. That's good. Like, so when people are starting out in their careers and they're starting out in the contact center space, essentially there should be, when you walk in day one, what is it that you're here for? Like, you're taking calls today, but why are you here? Like, is your goal to talk to people and you're such an extrovert and you just love talking to people and helping people solve problems, right? Is that your thing? And is customer service your thing? Or what do you want to do when it comes to your career? Because I know I've talked to some people and they're like, listen, I'm not at that. It's not that I don't want to do anything with my career. I'm not at that place right now in my life. I got a lot of different things going on. I just need to go to a company and get paid in this season of my life. Versus people who are in another season of their life, they're like, no, I'm focusing very keenly on career and career trajectory and pathing. That's what I'm looking for from a company. So I love that. I love that idea. Don't let them make you a better version of what they want you to be a better version of. Companies need to be listening and asking, what is it that you are here to do? That's a gem right there. That's a gem, Nick.
Yeah. The only other thing I would add to that is, what do they want to do outside of work? Some people have side gigs that they're just hustling at. Maybe they want to get better at YouTube, and they got this side biz of creating this YouTube page. Maybe have a little a la carte offering where you're saying, hey, I'm going to give you an extra $100 a quarter to do what you want, as long as it's professional development and continuing to learn. Because let's say somebody else comes around in customer service and they say, hey, I got an extra 50 cents. You want it per hour? And they're like, oh, cool. But do you do this professional development stuff? Do you actually care who I am as a human? Do you know what I value? Are you helping me grow? Oh, if not, like, I'm gonna stay here.
Yeah,
That's
keep
cool.
your 50 cents because I
Yeah.
want to be a videographer, and this company, even though I'm on the phone right now, this company is helping me with my content development. They're helping me with my YouTube channel. Like, they're helping me on the non-tangibles, right? Which are
Right.
technically tangibles if that's where I want a career path to. I absolutely love that. And you know, I'm always talking about the gig economy, and that's why we're losing people to the gig economy. So, but that's a whole nother topic. We ain't got time, Nick. We don't have time. Okay. We
Part
got to
two.
get to that's part 2. Listen, tell us more about VDS and your role as a director over there.
Yeah. So VDS, we've been around for about 30 years. I am the director of contact center solutions there. Our whole goal is to help people get to understand where they're at today in that contact center solution, and help them get to where they need to go. The best way that I explain it is in sales or marketing, you could either be the guide or you can be the hero. And the whole goal is nobody's a hero if you're selling something. The whole goal is for you to be the guide or the Sherpa at the bottom of that mountain. How do you hear that person out and say, man, I've been doing this for 30 years. I understand what it takes to get to the top of that mountain. And I know when you need to take those small steps. I know when you need to take that additional oxygen. I need to know when you need to walk faster. So we help remove that friction to getting them to where they're at, to where they want to go. And we help design, implement, and support the contact center solutions.
So when we're talking about designing, implementing and supporting that call center solution, right? What are some of the things that you initially just like, hey, you're here and I want to get you to the top of this mountain so I can, help you. I want to be that guide for you. What are some of those things you initially just like, hey, these are table stakes, right? This is bare minimum. Let me help you with this. What are some of those things that you look at?
It's interesting around table stakes can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. And it depends on where they're at in that maturity model of a contact center or that customer experience journey. So it could be, I'm on voice only, but I have 300 agents and I need to figure out how to meet my customer where they're at on the channel of their choice and remove that friction and push, like you said, that conversation from text to voice with context. And so it could be, for me, it's all about asking questions and pulling back that layer of the onion to understand not just about, I understand the technology, but I need to understand their business objectives, their customer experience, and then that employee experience. Where are they at? Where are they frustrated at? And how do I remove and collapse and consolidate where they're at so I can drive that mission forward?
I love that. That's a whole gem right there. What I heard you say, right? I don't know if y'all heard Nick say this or not, so I'm going to recap. Okay. What I heard you say was you need to understand the business operations or the business objectives, right? And how that plays into the customer experience and the employee experience. What do I want my customer experience to look like? And where are my employees frustrated? What does that employee experience look like? That's how those are the 3 things we need to be looking at to get to the top of that mountain, right? Because we can't really, and I love that because we can't really just be all talking about EX. We can't be just talking about CX. We have to talk about the business, like we're business for a reason. So what are the business goals and objectives? Let's start there and see if we need to modify or change those. Even when we start thinking about things like operations, sometimes people are measuring things that you're just measuring that because it's industry standard, not because it actually ties into your actual business goals and objectives. So
Because we've always done that.
Right, because we've always done it, right? We've always measured average handle time. But you're a tech support company, right? You're helping people change their tires. Average handle time may not be a best practice to, measuring that because it takes people time to change their tire, right? or you're helping people debug something, like, so that may not be the right metric, even though that is something that we from a customer experience or employee experience measure, right? And so I think business objectives are really, really important.
Yeah, and even in the worst case scenario, let's say somebody's trying to file a claim because their spouse died. Like worst case scenario, they call in and that person on the other end is saying, "Oh, I'm looking at my dial over here, my dashboard, and I'm going over my number." You don't need to go over your number. You just need to focus, have empathy
Right.
for that person,
Right.
sit with them, and be present, and just
Yeah.
listen,
It's funny that
and
you
then help.
mentioned that. Go ahead. No, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, just listen to them and help them in the least amount of effort to solve their problem. Period.
Period. Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I was just at a show not too long ago, and I was talking to someone, and she was talking about how she had an experience. Her husband had just passed. So she had to call, the insurance company. She had to make all the calls, right, for when someone passed and things like that. And she got two interesting responses. I was talking to her about customer experience. She said she got two responses that was kind of interesting. And she's not in our field. She's not in contact center. She was just telling me her experience. And she said two things were really interesting to me. One person said to me, "Oh, I apologize for your loss." And she in a wittily way said, "Did you kill him?" Like, why are you apologizing? So, that was interesting. So that was the first response that she thought was interesting on her journey of doing these, all these different calls. And the second one was that she was calling, I think, the healthcare company or something like that. And the agent was like, she has told him, "Hey, I'm calling in. I need to remove my husband. He just passed, blah, 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 blah." And the person was like, "Can I have the policy number and the employees your husband's identification card?" "No, I'm, sorry to hear that. Sorry for your loss." No acknowledgement to what she said. So that brought two things to my mind around: how are we training people on the phones? Are we just training them to performance metrics, right? First call resolution, average handle time. But are we actually coaching them on talk tracks and empathy and cultural behaviors and things like that? All of that goes into customer service. And which is why, as AI becomes more and more to the forefront, the customer service role becomes even more important, because it's not just somebody order taking or just reading a script. It's being able to hear what's not said, hear what is said, pick up on sentiment, pick up on all those different things so that you can best serve the customer.
Man, there's so much to talk about right there, but I think there's a couple things. There's one guy I interviewed, and I think a lot of people will know who he is. He's an international hostage negotiator. His name is Chris Voss.
Yes.
And he talks about labeling. So it's seeing, it's hearing, talking about what's not being said, and then asking that question. And it seems like, it sounds like, it feels like. One way that person could have said it is, "Man, that seems real hard. That's tough." It's and the last thing he said, that I'll mention, is that he's like, "Don't ever say I'm sorry in customer service." He's like, 33% of the people like it. 33% of the people are like, "Man, I don't really like it, but that's okay. I'll deal with it." And 33% of them despise it. Don't ever say I'm sorry. Just solve my problem, because you don't know exactly what I'm going through. I just need you to solve my problem, period. And so it's not necessarily, unfortunately, people in customer service are just taught to respond, not to hear what's being said, think about it, acknowledge what they're saying, understand what they're saying, and then respond and it takes a little bit of training. And if you don't have that training, then get it and hear what that person's saying, and don't just look at a script and respond.
That's good. That's a whole mic drop right there, Nick. Whole mic drop.
I'm not dropping this mic, Juanita.
It's expensive. I love that. Listen, okay. So last question. Okay. Last question. Why do you think that companies are facing challenges when it comes to implementing the right tech for their CX and EX strategies?
Man, this is a whole nother episode, but I would say that too many companies, and I'm not going to name any, and I think everybody's to blame a little bit, but in general, the technology providers or the salespeople try to slam in a technology because they're trying to hit quota.
Mm.
They're not actually trying to understand what that person needs, and just saying, oh, hey, you know what? I can actually hit this, and I'm going to throw this analytics tool in there because it's going to improve my annual contract value, and I'm going to get paid an extra 10 grand. I'm going to do that.
We done.
And then, hold on. I know you're already geeking out. So, and then at Go Live, they're saying, hey, best of luck. You let me know if you need anything else. I'm out. And they wash their hands and they walk away and go to the next one. They're not sitting there. They're not focused on that customer lifetime value. They're not driving that business forward. And that's why organizations bring us in, is because we stick with them for life. We stick with them for that lifetime value because we understand what it means and how to drive the business forward and help them see around the corner. And that's the biggest reason. And if they're not understanding the business objectives, and you're not understanding the use cases, and you're not actually building out and designing it according to that specific plan, you're just saying, hey, I'm going to give you an extra 300 hours to implement this, and it's going to be 5 weeks. And you're like, okay, cool. But is this going to solve my problems?
Right.
Yep. Yeah, sure. It's going to solve your problems. And then 6 months later, they realize that's not a right fit. It's not the right fit. They've already bought a 3-year contract, and now they got to wait, or they got to buy it out. And it just happens over and over and over again. The last thing I'll say, and I'll bring it back to you, is the market right now is what, 25% of them have gone to the cloud for a contact center, just on average, maybe 30% now. I would say 90% of my deals, organizations have already gone to the cloud once.
Yeah. That's a whole conversation right there. Yeah. So, and they're doing it again. Why? Right. Like, so that's oh man, that's a whole nother show. It's such a great topic. Yeah. And I love you guys' approach, because it's very similar to ours in that we say, we don't start with the technology. We start with the people and the processes. So we start with people, look at the processes that they have in place or don't have in place, and look for what can we automate and what everything doesn't need to be automated. How about we start there?
And not everything needs AI.
Right. And so let's look at the processes. Let's look at the people we have in place, because I give you this fancy tool, right? And you're past go live, you've done training, you've done adoption, all that good stuff. Great. But then you don't have an engineer to even run this. You don't have a workforce manager to run the workforce tool, right? So nobody said to you before they sold it to you, hey, you probably need a workforce manager, right? Or you probably need somebody in routing, right? Nobody said that. They just sold you the solution, because the solution was the answer to scaling, right? The result that you're looking for. But the solution is never the answer to the people in the process. The solution is the answer to scaling the process the result that you're looking for. So I love that you guys start with, business process and I mean, business objectives. That's amazing. I know we're at the bottom of our time. Last question for real. Yeah. What's next? What's next for VDS? What's next? Where can the people find Press One for Nick?
So Press One for Nick, I'll start there. Just go to all where everybody listens to podcasts. It's the Googles, the Apples, the Spotify's. I have a YouTube page now as well. Go to Press One for Nick, search for that. I'm starting to create playlists for my guests, so I break down, and that's an awesome way. VDS is still going to be staying in that contact center space. That's what we know, and that's what we're really good at. And we're not going to pretend to be anybody else. And so that's our plan for the long term. And you just go to search for my name, Nick Glimsdahl, under LinkedIn, or go to govds.com.
Amazing. Any last thoughts that you have for us, Nick, before I wrap the show?
Man, the only thing I would say is my mission in life is to have fun serving others. And so I would I would challenge everybody else to enjoy where they're at because they might miss where they're at.
Nick, say it again for the people. Say, you got to drop that line again. If I knew you was going to come on here dropping bars, I would have had a bar. I would have had a bar emoji.
I said, enjoy where you're at. Enjoy the moment because you might be missing where you're at.
That's it. I don't even have to wrap the show. That's the wrap of the show. Just hang out with me in the green room while I'm going to restate what you just said. And that's going to be the wrap of the show. Hold on for me 1 second. What an amazing show. Like, listen, I don't have no wrap. That's the wrap. Enjoy where you're at because you may be missing where you're at. All right, guys, until next time, I hope you enjoyed the show. Leave your comments on what we should be talking about next. Again, if you know somebody that should be on the show that has not been on the show, make sure you reach out to us at solidrockco.net/CCC. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye, guys.